Okay, so this was sent to me today on Facebook, and there are some minor issues with the face. So as you know, the face is divided into four quarters. Um, Whoa, big brush. The first two are this half and this half, and the last two are this way and this way. When you paint in the features, you have to make sure that when you wrap around the features on the face, you wrap them around these quarters. These quarters are actually very visible in the human face. You can see them just by looking at someone's face because they end on the edge of the head. So the head is actually a cube, just like this, and they end at this edge. So the temple edge right here where your temples are and when your eyebrows, where your eyebrows are, the arch of your eyebrow, it's in these areas here. So what you have to do is make sure that you're wrapping the eyebrows as if they are compressing into the distance, as if they are wrapping around an edge. You can't have them, you know, perfectly exhibited like this without any compression or any form or any skeletal structure underneath influencing it. It's like getting a sheet or like a paper with a face on it and just looking at the flat piece of paper instead of wrapping it around the cube. So right now you've basically, there's just a face without skin. I mean without a skeletal structure underneath. So just like in Game of Thrones when they go into that room and there's all those faces, basically you just skin the face and you laid it down flat instead of wrapping it around an actual cube edge. The fuck is wrong with me? So that's basically what you have to do, is you have to make it seem like you're wrapping around a cube. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you do is you stop the extensive sort of length of the eyebrows. They end somewhere sooner, just around here. If you want to give them that arch, you have to start it early, because you start the arch where the highest point of the eyebrows is, just around here. And this, yes, we're influencing and we're changing the shape that you started with, but for the sake of form. I'm also going to throw a shadow along that line where the third and fourth quarters meet, and I'm going to throw it over the rest of the face. Half the face is always in shadow with this kind of light source. And then you've got your signifiers like this. They're your light signifiers and the cast shadow of the nose. That needs to stay sharp. Do not over soften the shadow of the nose. We want to show that the nose sticks out. Creepy. Alright, and then a little bit of reflection on the nose here and here. So the nose feels like it protrudes. Your dark spots could be a bit darker. If you find that your dark spots are going light, you're going to lose the anchor of realism that you have in the face. You need to make sure that you have at least 2 of the 6 dark spots somewhere on the face. I'm just going to throw in all 6, and you can pick and choose. Forehead is the lightest spot. That's really good. The nose, second lightest. Then you've got cheekbones, and you've got the upper lip. And let's just look at a before and after. Actually, one moment. Let me carry some of the shadows off the eyes into the corners here and cast the shadow from the eyebrows down onto the face. Just like this. And I'm going to grab some of that light and place it on the waterline where the waterline juts out of the cast shadow that I threw. There's a cast shadow that is shaped like this. It's done a lot softer, but it's necessary. I want to show that there is an actual cavity in the face. Just brushing over it. There is also a slightly darker shadow in between the eyebrows. Just like so. And that's pretty much it for now. So I didn't need to delete that. Before, after. So what we did was, essentially we found the core shadow, and we wrapped it around the edges of the cube that are on the face. And I showed you where these edges are. So you see the temples. Look at the temples on the before and after. You see a cube in the after, you don't see a cube in the before. It's like the face was flat on a desk, but you had the skin and the nose and everything like it was a mask, like the ones you buy in Halloween, instead of wrapping it around an actual cubical sphere kind of thing. Cubic sphere. And the reason why it looks real is because it's responding to a light source. So once you find the cube, you can find the core shadow shape, the essential core shadow identity, which is the kind of core shadow where it's sitting on the face. Usually in portraiture, it's just half the face. The cast shadow coming off the eyebrows onto the eyes, off the nose. See how essential the nose shadow is? The nose actually feels like it sticks out and can smell for you as function dictates. And then you have the dark spots of the eyes that can't really be faded out. They can be stylistically, but at this point this seems like a study to me. So try to follow all of the rules and learn them, solidify them. Okay? So I hope that helped. I don't do 14-day challenge critiques, by the way, if you guys are wondering. I don't think that was a 14-day challenge. If it was, I would only do that one day of it. I don't mediate the 14-day challenge anymore. As for this one, the light is coming from the side, and same thing with this. The fourth quarter on the outer edge right over here needs to be darker because it is facing completely away from the light. The light on this side, however, should be a little bit more contrasted, and this cheek would catch some of that light a little bit. I'm going to soften the bridge on this side so the nose feels a little bit more delicate, so I don't make her look like an evil person. She is Snow White. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften her expression to show both curiosity, temptation, and innocence. So I'm going to raise the eyebrows up just a little bit. A little bit on the upper eyelid. A shadow cast off the nose onto the rest of the face. That edge is necessary. So what we're doing here, if you can tell, cast shadows are really essential to translating form. They're just really, really big part of the formula, formula. So I'm casting a shadow off this piece of hair. I'm going to extend this illumination because the forehead is bulbous, so it sticks out. So it's going to catch some light just on the side of that sphere of the forehead that juts out the most. I'm going to darken this eyebrow and also raise it. It's to be scientific, yo. But what he talks about it kind of complicated to understand. My favorite part, draw, are the eyes. To draw. I try my best. Rarest peep. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Trying to make sure no one feels ignored. Please don't forget about the lower eyelid. Lower eyelid is really, really important. If you don't know how to shade it, just imagine where the light source is, and that's where the light source will be brightest on the eye. So just on the outside of this eye, that's where the brightest spot will be. I'm going to throw a shadow on this part of the sphere, so the eyeball is one big circle. So shade it as if it's a big, sphere, a ball. So shade it as if it is one. I'm going to get, usually I don't like taking any chances with the circular shape of the pupil. So what I do is I just get a hard brush, hard round basic brush on Photoshop, and I just right click on my tablet pen to get that circle. Just like that. And then I erase away the parts that bleed over. Where is my stupid eraser? So erase away the bits here, because preserving that circular shape in the eye is so important for the form. I never want to take a chance and leave it from my hand to sort of misdraw it. And once I get it, it becomes very easy for me to just fill the rest in. I just decrease the opacity. And then everything else sort of just falls into place. It's really important. I don't like taking chances with the circular shape. You can hand paint everything else, and you can hand paint the perfect circle as well if you want to spend that time. Go for it. For me, I just, especially because the critique hours take so much time. And then I continue to shade, casting the shadow of the upper eyelid onto the rest of the face, just like this. And so this part of the eye will be in shadow because that's the bowl facing away from the light source, but this part here will be getting some light, as well as this part. And then those areas reflect upward onto themselves, depending on the kind of light the eyes are exposed to. So now see the temptation and the curiosity are both there with that expression in the eyes. If her nostrils are pointing down, there's no point in painting them. Just make sure that you have the shadow. If you do want to show the nostrils, you're going to need sort of elevation. But I kind of feel like hiding the nostrils at this point because I feel like her head is tilting down. And this image really read to me right away because I like the way that you cast the shadow, how you were thinking about the head as a shape. I really like that. Please continue that. Don't let that change. As for the lips, I'm just going to take a little bit just to make sure I have So it's always important to start off, whatever you're painting, to start it off as if it was a solid shape. Because if you shade it as a solid shape, it will maintain its core shadow. You will treat it as something real. And it's very important to treat it as a 3D object. It brings that real with it. So treat, if you can, anything as a simple cube or a simple sphere. And that'll really help you. I'm just trying to figure out where the cast shadows sit. Because it was an unfinished painting, so I feel like I have to finish something of it. So the light on this this upper lip area will be lit up, the face, and then this part of the hair will cast a shadow, just like this, on this part of the face. So then you have like a very continuous pattern of areas that are exposed and areas that aren't exposed. Instead of just having one side that's bright and one side that isn't. There's a shadow cast by the neck and the face and the chin. The chin, the head, and the neck all working together to create one core shadow there. Minor secondary light sourcing. Oopsie. Then these whites of her shirt or her dress or whatever should not be that white. Absolutely not. They cannot be that white because they have to be like lit up. It has to be like a Tron costume type collar. Nothing is really that white in real life. Only light sources can really hit that high of a value contrast. Okay, as for the apple, I believe we were in Hangouts at one point and someone said that the apples seem nondescript, or which is very, very accurate. I think Ardent talked about that. Hi Ardent, if you're watching. So I do recommend that you give the apple some sort of signifier that it's an apple, so maybe a leaf, as well as throwing some core shadows on the apple, because the apple seems to be exempt from the light source that's happening on the face, where it shouldn't. It should have some shadows on it. Also recommend some light in between the fingers here so that we can show where the light source is touching and where it isn't. Just like that. Good job on the hands, by the way. Amazing job on the hands. I think I already told you before as well. That the hands are really well done. I'm not sure which reference you used for the thumb. It seemed to be a little jutted out. So I'm going to merge that down. I'm going to sharpen up just a little bit. Now for liquify. The breast area, the breasts at this point are asymmetrical. We've got this breast up here and this one down here, and if you draw a horizontal line, that's how you'll know where the other one is. So this part of her shirt will be bent by the contour, the valley that's the hill that's created by the chest area. And this would be picked up a little bit because she's kind of tucking her shoulder up a little. So the gesture is complete now, whereas before it seemed to be a little bit low. Since the light is so, not specular, what's the word for it? I guess just sharp, or I'm not even sure the term for the light in this case, but because it's so dim and it's causing such deep shadows, half the canvas should be darkened as well. There's also a cast shadow cast by her collar. I'll clean that up as well. Cast shadows get dimmer the further away from the thing that's causing them they are. So if they're far away from the object causing them, the dimmer they will be. There will be more light here. You also need to contrast and create some sort of distinctions between high points and low points on the chest, so breasts and collarbone. I will be making a video soon, someone suggested it, about collarbones and the neck, cleavage, collarbone area. I think I've already told you guys that I'm going to be doing that, but that's coming up very, very soon. The next time I have some free time, I'll definitely just get right on that. A lot of people have portraiture and they can really draw, do portraiture and they can really draw a face very well, but when it comes to the chest areas and the collarbone, things just get a little bit confusing all the time. So I think it'll help those portrait artists. And if you're a figure artist as well, it'll also help you. It's a very significant part of portraiture though. You can't just draw floating heads all the time. Try not to make her boobs look too big because she's just Snow White, like she's young and shit, so I can't really boob it up. Okay, I think that covers that area. And there will be some light here, some light here, and the hand will cast a shadow on the chest, which you should not forget. Please don't forget your cast shadows. They are very, very important. Okay. Down, filter, sharpen. Cancel. There's some artifacts here to get rid of. I think I'll just leave it unsharpened. Okay, so that's what I wanted to sort of do. I wanted you to blend in the sides of the temples away behind the hair. Complete the face. Don't forget about the eyelids. Think about the way the nose is pointing when we're looking at it, the cast shadow of the nose. All cast shadows, actually. Just like this. Any questions? Anyone have any questions? So what did I just do to this painting? What essentially did I just do? If you can summarize it in 2 sentences, what did I do to change this painting? The upper eyelids seem too dark to me. I kind of did the makeup thing on them as well. The lash line is especially dark. The upper eyelids seem too dark. Fill in the depth. Thank you, Linda. How do you submit your art for this? Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, anywhere where you can find me, you can submit something. Excuse me. Gave it depth, cube, cast shadow, and created form, responding to a light source. All of that is very, very important. Very, very essential to making an object seem like it exists in an atmosphere of light and space. Any character you will ever draw will be improved if you try to create them in their own atmosphere or space, with light influence or just cube influence. Okay. So I'm not going to be taking any more for today, but for next time I definitely will be looking at these, depending on the theme, of course. So I hope this helped you. I'm not sure who I think it's, who is it? Danilyn? I'm not sure who the artist is, but thank you for submitting this. I'm sorry it took so long to get to it. Okay, now for the sassy mermaid. What I'm going to do actually, I'm going to do it right away. No offense to your character design, but I'm just going to do a nice little see you later kind of thing to that. And I'm going to do something else as well. She seems to be on a swing of some kind, or she's hanging on to some reeds. So what I'm going to do is make the other hand also do that. Oops, what did I just do? So I'm going to, oopsie, tilt the hand, enlarge. Just like this. And then I'm going to start critiquing it, but right now I'm just landscaping. Okay, merge down. All right. Try to make it seem like this hand is very stiff, but I'm just going to try to make it seem like it's also holding on to a swing. If there is no swing in the original design, I'm just going to go with it because we kind of need a tiny bit of a story here. So she's kind of bending the rope a little with her hand. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to jump into liquify. What we have here are a couple of problems. First problem is a general anatomy and proportion problem. You need to do some more anatomy studies. Stop trying to make masterpieces because that's what you're doing right now. And what that's doing is it's really revealing areas where you have a weakness, and you're over rendering without the knowledge of the area that you're rendering. So what happens is something like this. It looks very, very stiff. That's what happens when you try to render something you have no knowledge of. You will spot render, you will uh, render something that you think is proportionate where it really isn't, and then you'll be rendering it realistically so it'll look like some sort of humanoid but with really non-human proportions. Like for instance, the neck size was this extra big. This gesture is really stiff gesture. It doesn't feel like she's actually on a swing where there's gravity pulling and pushing. There's no immediate gesture that's happening. Very, very stiff, if there is one, this very, very stiff, loose S shape just over here, but that's it for gesture. What you will probably want to see is some sort of arc in the back, a big arc in the back showing a mermaid's flexibility. Something with the head, maybe the head could be tilting forward, because when someone swings forward or backward, they kind of tilt their head to respond to the weight change. There is a very, very large distance in between both of the eyes. Whoopsie. And there are no core shadows and there are no cast shadows. So there's no thinking about the light source. So right now, Sarah, I think the artist is, you need to do some figure drawing studies. You need to do some gesture drawing studies. You need to do some form studies. When you come back to making your masterpieces, they will be improved. Because what you will have done is you'll bring in a new knowledge that you'll be rendering instead of old knowledge that you were rendering that didn't have a thorough sort of experience with that field. So you were rendering body types that you weren't really experimenting with backstage. And you were going on stage without practicing your song. It's going to be very obvious that you didn't practice the song that you're going to be singing to the audience. That's exactly what happens when you guys do masterpieces without a decent amount of knowledge behind those masterpieces. Without a decent amount of knowledge behind what it is that you're doing, it's going to be very obvious. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb if you don't know how to draw a female body and how to figure out how thick the necks are, or how to shade a neck, or how to shade breasts. So just this tiny thing is really, really took away from her beauty, oversized her body, oversized her neckline, made her look very masculine in that area. There is also the expression, so there's a great deal of portraiture that you have to also start focusing on. Because the expression is again very, very stiff. Her mouth is just open, but her eyes aren't responding to any specific gesture. So there's no eye squinting that represents any fun that she might be having. Let's try to put an asymmetrical thing happening with her mouth, so she seems like she's more enjoying herself. So now for the shading, I think you placed in too much shading onto the sides of the nose, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do. This is really low res, by the way. I'd appreciate higher res if you guys really want me to take a look at your work. I should just check the res before I start. I don't think I should critique anything that is low res. What is the res of this? I'm going to need more than 389 by 550. Because the liquify really creates lots and lots of little artifacts, and if it does something that I don't want it to do, and then you'll see that as something that I wanted you guys to do. I don't want that to happen. I don't know if that made any sense. I'm going to throw some of her face away beneath the hair. The hair will cast shadows over everything. I'm also going to bring in some beauty signifiers. There's going to be a tiny bit of dark just on the upper eyelid. Yeah, her eyes are dark generally, but I'm just going to darken her upper eyelid because we still need some human aspect of her. She can't be completely like fish-like like those ones from Harry Potter. Those fish ladies. I hated the way they designed those. It was so ugly. Right, so I'm just gonna, she kind of has that feeling of anger happening, and maybe that's her species, maybe that's what her species is like, but I don't want it to take over the expression. It can be a delicate little change. She also seems like she has an Asian face, so I'm going to skip out on the eye crease and just go straight in with the light. Now she looks like she's more joyous, or she's having more fun. And that sort of brings back the human aspect of her. Before, it was really difficult to feel any connection because of the way that you broke some of the beauty rules, especially because of the neck. It's also very, very bony fish, so if you want us to have some sense of, like, relating to some sense of femininity, you're going to need to create the differentiate. The thing about a female body is the biggest difference between male and female is female bodies have natural fat pockets. They're not really fat, but they're just, like the breast is a big, big contrast from muscle because they actually move around and are more jiggly and more flexible than muscle is. So the way you drew them, it seems like she's a doll, like she's a mannequin in the store, where they just have the shape of the boob, but they don't have the squishiness of the boob, which would be really weird if they invested like that much detail into mannequins. But anyways, I digress. What you need to do is show that the breasts are a different kind of mass structure than the rest of the body. They have a very severe edge over here, very, very severe, very stiff, as if she's a sculpture, which is not a good idea. You want to show that there is a softness to the structure, to the low density. You want to show that there are softer cast shadows and softer edges. And just generally really being very, very picky with where you place the highlights. So I'm going to bring that all down. And at this point, when you choose where the highlights go, you have to think about where your light source is. If you don't think about the light source, you won't know where these highlights go. So for the face, I'm just going to follow the light source I chose for the face. So the light is coming this way. So the high point of this breast will be this way, and this one will be in this direction. And I'm going to go into liquify in a second. Sort of fix their shape all around. The collarbone, I really need to make that collarbone video. Please don't over-render the collarbone. Very, very little that's needed for the collarbone to feel real. Just two lines and that's it, really. Some side shadow, some light in between. Now I'm going to go into liquify and sort of give the breast some more saggy shape, I guess you can call it. Where before they felt a little bit stiff. Also, this rib cage line is very severe. You need to soften that up. Like, it won't feel real. Another fat pocket that's sort of on the sort of, at least the modern beauty standard for females, is the one on the stomach. So first we need to soften this. We need to soften these bone structures. Pull down that belly button and just show that there's a fat pocket there catching some light. Just around that area here. And then soften this rib cage. If you want her to be bony, but you're also giving her like that kawaii kind of a koi fish that's flirty and sassy, like it's going to feel really odd and really uncanny. Also, your canvas is too small because it forced you to shorten her up. I recommend just extending it even lower. She's a very, very short fish if she's going to end that soon. You know, we saw the end of the curve. We shouldn't see the end of that too soon. You want to give her that length and elegance. So that's pretty much it. You are not really designing this character with a character design mentality. You're not designing this character with enough knowledge in your background so that I feel you're ready for a full-on illustration. So I'm going to say this now and I'm going to say it forever. You either listen to it or you don't. Please stop trying to do masterpieces if you haven't done enough studies, because all you're going to get is disappointment. That's all that's going to happen. At the end of the day, you're going to look at your work and you're going to say, yeah, I did this, yeah, I'm good, I finished this painting. But if you're going to have this many people not able to read your painting, something went wrong. And that's the disappointment that I'm talking about. After a while, the image won't look so good to you. You'll say, damn it, there's this thing that I can't seem to cross, and all my paintings seem to have this issue with them. That's because there aren't enough studies in the background. There isn't enough work happening backstage. You're throwing all of the tricks that you have and scheduling a show, and everyone has to come in and look at that. That's a masterpiece. That you're not ready for masterpieces. If you guys are here and you're looking for tips, if you guys are in this class right now, all 43 of you, you guys are not ready for masterpieces. The reason why you're here is because you want to learn some tips and tricks that will help you execute and render. That means that the next time you draw a cube, you'll draw it differently. You'll think about the light source first. You'll think about the edges. You'll think about cast shadows and distance and density. You'll think about how to shade a balloon versus how to shade a gold vase, or how to shade a cube, and the cube versus the sphere that's dense versus a blob of water. So what's the difference essentially in shading and rendering between a drop of water that's the exact same shape as the sphere, but the sphere is made of concrete? So if you start thinking about material, you start thinking about texture, you start thinking about shape, you start thinking about contours, you can't possibly expect that every single time you do a masterpiece you're going to come across all of those units. It's not going to happen. And if I know anything about students nowadays, because I was one and I am still one, we're going to take as many shortcuts as we can, and we're going to only draw the stuff we know how to draw so we feel better about ourselves. So I'm being a little rough right now because I really want you guys to not underestimate the power of studying. It's really important. Once a week, just do a form study. Once a week, do a still life of a couple of water drops. Once a week, experiment with your brush set. Once a week, start to, it doesn't take every single day for 6 months straight, and you have to, go into a hermitage and not talk to your mom and dad, and then you have family problems, and then you get kicked out of the house, and then you got to get a job. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just saying once a week, just dedicate it to studying. Once a week, say, I swear to God, I'm not going to try to do any masterpieces today. It's just so that I could experience this material with this canvas. I'm going to try to draw a rock. I'm going to try to draw a leaf. Because it may seem random, but it's not. It's expanding your radius of experience. And next time you do have a masterpiece in mind, and you're like, damn, I'm inspired. I don't know if I'm ready yet. Should I try it? And then you try it, you feel like there is more confidence because there's a lot in the backstage that's helping you. You practiced, you did the study hours, you put in the time. What do you learn from a leaf? You learn about detail. You learn about core shadows. You learn about transparency and subsurface scattering. You learn about shape. You learn about scatter. And you learn about texture, if I said. You learn about a lot just from a leaf. A leaf, if you know how to draw a leaf and you know how to shade in that subsurface scattering, you can shade an ear. Because the ear has a very similar transparency to a leaf. Cartilage, I mean. A human ear with light behind it. There's a lot to learn from the tiniest little still life study that you do. So please stop trying to do masterpieces. There's a lot of core shadow problems that I see day to day with these critiques. A lot of you on the Google Hangout, the Google community link, have severe core shadow issues. This means that two big things are two vital things that'll cause a fatality in your work. Critical things you don't think about, which is where the light source is that causes the core shadow, and where the cube is that helps form the core shadow. If I see core shadow issues, I know this artist is not investing enough time in their form studies. If I don't see enough cast shadows and core shadows, I'm sorry to say this, but what are you studying if you're not studying that? It's very important to remember your studies, all right? Okay. Just because it's art doesn't mean you've gotten away from the sciences of it. Everything needs a level of study. Every school of thought. There's nothing that comes easy, especially art. Most importantly, art. So you said something about the hip bones, Sarah. They would be somewhere around here. just around this area, and there would be a shadow cast under this stomach area, and there would be the shadow over here, and then there would be the upper area of the diaphragm, just getting some light. That would be a very, very soft transition. We want to show that it's a ideal sort of female body. We don't want to throw in too much bone, because then you're reading it as something else. It'll start reading as a dead creature or something like that. As for the general pose, like the way she's holding something, I feel like you put it there just so that you can have her hand doing something. If you want to make her seem like she's in a room or underwater, that's very flirtatious, do some gesture drawings to practice it. One last little tip. Please, 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 before you do start a masterpiece, if you guys have a masterpiece in mind, all right, Istebrak, I'll do the studies, okay? I've done enough studies. I'm ready for a masterpiece. I have a really good idea in my mind, Istebrak. I want to do it. What do? Practice practicing it. How do I say this? Practice it before you do it. Meaning, okay, let me show you something that the masters did. Waterhouse Icarus sketch. I think it's Waterhouse who drew the Icarus, the fallen Icarus. In his sketchbooks, I don't know if it's Waterhouse, it could be the Lament, Herbert Draper. Oh, is it? Yeah, the Lament for Icarus. All right. So this is a masterpiece right here that you're looking at, of course, right? In his sketchbook, this artist, he practiced this figure probably like 4 or 5 times before he rendered her in a painting. There were numerous, I remember seeing wing studies before he actually went in. He isn't going to have that one shot at that one painting, that massive canvas and all that expensive paint, so that he could fumble. He got himself familiar with the landscape really quickly. And then he jumped in and did the masterpiece. And then he rendered a scene and an illustration. This is an illustration because there's a lot about this story. You're illustrating a scene within a scene within a scene. It's a very extensive demand of skill. It's not like character design where it's just the character in a gray backdrop and you send it off to a 3D modeler and they just design the next League of Legends character. And they made $10 million out of it. I'm just talking about the biggest sort of frontier of art, which is an illustration, a painting, where it's most difficult and most challenging. I'm talking about Wizards of the Coast type illustrations. Those take some studies. Those are the masterpieces. That's when you bring in everything you've ever studied about knowledge, all the knowledge you have about core shadow and light source and how the light source affects material and how the material reflects its color on reflective material and how reflective material causes diffuse on matte material and non-matte material, how subsurface scattering will travel across fabric and onto the face even though the face is facing away from the light. That's a lot of stuff to think about. That's a lot of science. So if you're not dealing with that beforehand, before your show, before your masterpiece, you're going to fail because it's going to be the first time you tried it. So don't come in here expecting me to take your images, I'm sorry to say this again, seriously as masterpieces if I don't even see pre-planning for the masterpiece. If I don't even see some level of planning invested. I want to see that. If I start seeing that, then I'll know, okay, this person really, really did try to make a masterpiece. They're really trying for it. They practiced it. This is where you went wrong. But if you're going straight for a masterpiece and then submitting them and wanting me to not say that they're not masterpieces, that I'm not going to be able to call them masterpieces. Because if I see you have a core shadow problem, you should be going nowhere near masterpieces for a while. You should be focusing on the core issues at hand, the issues that are separating you from intermediate or separating intermediate from advanced. Alright, so I know this is like kind of a strict lecture, but I'm not just going to bubble through and give you before and afters and hope that you learn something. I'm going to try to drill in the fact that there is a big mistake you're making. And that's core shadow, and that's form. You're not experiencing form separately in a safe learning environment. You're dealing with it on a masterpiece. You're not even going to learn in a masterpiece environment. It's very dog-eat-dog in there. You make one mistake, the whole image just flutters out of your mind, and it's so hard to get it again. Take it from me. I myself, I'm here teaching you guys, and you guys trust me to teach you because you think I have knowledge. Whatever knowledge I do have, I have trouble with masterpieces. So I humbly say that. I have trouble with masterpieces, and if I'm the one teaching you guys, you should not be dealing with masterpieces right now. Practice the part that compose the piece before incorporating them into a masterpiece. Exactly. Separating the pieces together, dealing with them in a safe environment so that one day when you do have to combine all of it together, you combine it very gracefully. You're not making those big mistakes that corrupt the entire image. Mistakes of light source mistakes. That's a lot. That's a big thing. That's like having cancer. I'm so sorry to say that. No, no, no. It's the equivalent. It's metaphorical. It's the equivalent of having a cancer in your painting is not knowing where the light source is. It's like deadly to the painting. Okay? And that's the bottom line. You gotta have some sciences in there. And as I always say, there is more science in art than art. This is all science. There's some beautiful little artistic breaking of rules, like the illumination of the hair, the net, the detail, the spiral, the composition, but the rest, all of the beautiful shading, the form, the gesture, all of that is studies and science. Have a great day, you guys. Bye-bye.